Let's go ahead. I think I don't know. We've got 5 minutes. Should we get started now, or do you want to wait another 5 minutes to go? What do you guys think? Okay. I think I'm seeing nods that you want to start. So, I don't see any nods otherwise. So, all right. Well, it's great to be here. It's great to have you guys here, and my name is JesseStay. As you can see, my presentation today is on what I call hacking social or hacking social media. And what I want to show you guys today is that you guys actually have all the power as developers in social media. And just so I understand, I'm kind of assuming that there's a pretty heavily developer-focused audience here, but I know there's web designers, there may be other product managers and others that may not have as much of a background in development. Who here knows absolutely no software development? Don't be afraid. That's okay. Okay, so we got three or four people here. That's just fine. I will present this in a way that everyone can understand here. But hopefully, for those that aren't software developers today, I want to convince you that learning a little bit of software development is actually going to be to your advantage, because in social media, which is typically a heavily marketing focused, is actually a pretty heavily marketing focused, I don't know, subject, developers actually have an upper hand here. I just want to get an idea of this audience here. Who here is not from Germany? So, well, we probably got about half the audience not from Germany. Who here, of those not from Germany, who's from Europe? Okay, of those, so also those not from Germany, is anyone... Okay, so those that are not from Europe, where are you from? Anyone else? So it looks like we got Germany and various places of Europe. I just want to get a good idea of you guys. I come all the way from North America, from the United States, and I'm grateful to be here. So I need a clicker here. Just a little bit about myself. I'm just a little shameless self-promotion, but the reason I share this is I want you guys to know that I'm not going to go into very heavily how-to in this presentation. That's something that if you're a software developer, you can go in and you can, if you go to developers.facebook.com, you can learn on your own. I've got a book on the subject too. Please, whatever you feel like, those are the areas to go to. If we have a little extra time at the end, maybe I'll show you a few things here and there, but I want to, this is kind of a reasons why, and I want to give you some techniques and tips that as a developer, or even if you're not a developer, by learning some software development, you can learn. So as I mentioned, my name is JesseStay. Am I okay if I walk along here? Am I gonna be out of your camera range? All right. So I feel like I need to be over here a little. I want to make sure everyone can see me though. So my name is JesseStay. My background is actually, I started out as a software developer. Started back when I was probably 10 years old. I actually lived in Jakarta, Indonesia at the time. Took a summer school class on BASIC and fell in love with it from that point forward. Software development is something that's so easy a 10-year-old can learn it. My kids are learning it right now. If you go to, my favorite site is Code Academy, C-O-D-E-C-A-M-Y, I think. Google it if not, you'll find it. My kids go there and they learn all about how to code JavaScript, how to do, now they have PHP, how to do Python and stuff like that. And I really fell in love with it. Well, as I got older, I kept doing coding. I took my first real software development job. It was actually a web development job, probably when I was 20 years old, so I'm one of those in the 15-year range I mentioned in the last presentation, doing Perl development, Perl CGI development for a series of websites for Mary Kay was one of our clients, and a few others when we built ways to track distribution amongst people, the salespeople of some of these companies similar to Mary Kay. And I took it further, and I actually developed a platform for bidding on Google AdSense and Google AdWords, and bidding on Yahoo ads, and bidding on various ad platforms out there for an e-commerce company I was working for, and learned a whole bunch about ad management and doing managing ads as a marketer. I also managed an affiliate program. I actually worked for an affiliate management, not an affiliate, I worked for an e-commerce company around children's clothing called CWDkids.com, and I reported to the VP of marketing at this place, oddly. I was in charge of all their technology for the company, and they didn't really have a place other than reporting to the VP for me, so I reported to the VP of marketing for this company, and she actually put me in charge of their affiliate program, and I learned all about affiliate marketing at this place too. And as I was doing that, I was taking my pro programming knowledge and building scripts and stuff like that to kind of automate some of the problems we were encountering, and doing things that typical affiliate managers aren't going to have as much knowledge in. And did a little bit. I had a very simple Access VBA database that I would write VBA for, and automate some tasks and provide a visual interface for my boss at the time. And then I'd use Perl to automate bringing some of that into our website platform, and some of the stuff that our web developers were building for us, and had a lot of fun with that. And from that, I really learned some of the marketing side of this. I took it on, and then social media came around. Facebook came around and launched their platform. Well, when Facebook launched their platform, I decided at that point I now had a platform of marketing that I could use, where I had access to a person's friends, family, and all sorts of information about people and the relationships they have, and the things they like, and the interests they have, and information about those people. As a developer, now I could do really cool stuff with, and have my own marketing platform available to me as a developer. And that's really what got me more onto the marketing side, and now I consider myself, I'm kind of half marketer, half developer, although I tell a lot of people I'm a marketer now, depending on who I'm talking to, which is really scary for me. Which brings me to this: be afraid. What I'm about to show you today is going to scare you. Social media gives you as a developer a lot of information about people with their permission, that you can have fun with, that you can build things out of, that you can grow experiences around. I'm not telling you to do anything illegal. In Europe, you have privacy laws that are much stricter than even the U.S., so I'm aware of both the U.S. privacy laws and here, so I'm not advocating anything illegal here, nothing that would be against any privacy laws. But with the user's permission, you have access to a lot of information, and I think you're going to be maybe a little scared after this of what is out there. Hopefully I don't convince you guys to cancel your social media accounts after this, but if anything, you'll realize that there is no privacy out there. So let's start with social media marketing. What is it? What is social media marketing? Social media marketing is a form of marketing focused on building audiences, driving revenue through those audiences, and identifying new audiences. So in essence, you're trying to take these audiences and build revenue for the brands and the companies that you represent and your clients that you represent, using these audiences that you're growing. You're growing users. You're growing. You're measuring users. You're building focus groups and targeting and information about those to be able to learn who your audience is and stuff like that. And social media marketing is all about using social networks like Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus now, Instagram, Pinterest. I could go on and on and on. Formerly MySpace, and then basically building experiences and growing audiences out of using those networks and integrating those into your products. So where do you fit in as a developer in social media marketing? Social media marketing for developers is a little bit scary. When I first built my own app, grew it, and I wanted to start building users for it and growing an audience for it, I had no clue what I was doing. And I took a little of the knowledge I had in bidding on Google AdWords, and really, I was jumping in head first with absolutely no knowledge behind me. And it seems a little scary to the word marketing, because often marketers can be more of a business type. And no offense to the marketers out there, I consider myself a marketer now. But the marketers are often dealing with money, they're dealing with revenue, they're dealing with people. Developers, hopefully you're dealing with people a little more than you should, than you're expected to. But developers, my experience as a developer is I deal a little less with people. I'm programming, I'm coding, and in trying to build things that based on the things that the marketers are learning about our audiences. So where do you fit in? I want to start with just a couple techniques. I've got a few things that developers really fit in, and I'll explain what this is in just a second. This is called Graph API Explorer. It's part of Facebook's developer API. And pay no attention to that access token. The access token is a temporary one, so if you try it, it probably won't even work. And if it does, have at it, because it won't do much with it. It won't do much. Social design is the first thing as a developer you need to understand. Social design is a concept around building things out of these social networks and building social experiences in your products, in your websites, in your mobile apps that integrate a person's friends and family. The basic concepts of social design, you should be asking these questions. First of all, how can I bring a person's close friends and family into this experience? I'll show you this in just a second, but on the left here, this is a particular website where they're bringing in the friends of a user as they use this website, and using the Facebook API to pull in a person's friends on Facebook and show the articles that they're reading on that website. You should also be asking, the second question you should be asking is, how can I help them share to these people easier and more fluidly? I realize I got a screen up here, I don't have to look back. I'm used to looking back. So once you know who their friends are and who their family is, now you want to provide experiences to help them share. And in the experiences you build, you should be thinking, what is the easiest way I can help these people share to their friends and family? And as you do that, as they see their friends and family in your experience that you're building, in your website, in your apps, they're going to automatically want to share and share those things with their family. The peer pressure thing works like crazy on a website if you can pull in a person's friends and family. So look to find ways to use Facebook's API, to use Twitter's API, Google Plus now, or look at your audience. What networks do they use, and what do they use most that you can pull in their closest friends and family from, and find ways to pull them into the experiences you're building. And then they'll see them using those experiences and share them, and automatically, as a result of seeing them use it, they're going to want to. Here's a picture of me using the app Spotify, which streams music, and I can take any. Right now, I've got it set so that anytime I play a song on Spotify, it automatically shares to my friends on Facebook. Spotify allowed me to do that, and oddly, people allow it to happen, including me. And my friends see that. They say, oh, he likes Lady Gaga, he likes Seal, and they want to go and listen to it. I have a very broad base of music taste, just so you know. I want to show you an example of this. This is Washington Post Social Reader. On Washington Post Social Reader, you'll notice, and this is the Friends section here on the right, they have a little Friends section at the top. And if you just go to socialreader.com, I didn't put the address on here, it's just socialreader.com, SOCIALREADER.com. it'll take you to a site that shows news, basically. They'll ask you to authenticate with Facebook and give permission as to how you want to share on Facebook. And I've set it to automatically share. Whenever I read an article on Washington Post Social Reader, it'll automatically share to my friends on Facebook. They've made that experience fluid of sharing to my friends. If I go to the friends section here, my friend VJ, he actually created this site, so he uses it a lot, and I couldn't get a screenshot of people other than VJ using it because he's using it the most. But if you scroll through in a typical user experience, you'll see all of my friends using this in different ways. You see different things that he's sharing, from American football here to is Glenn Greenwald the future of news? Yes and no, I don't even know who that is. But I see these things that he's reading. Or my wife is on here, and other friends that I'm close to are on here. And when I see that my friends are reading this stuff, I want to read it too. And I'm going to click on those as a result of them reading it, and that makes people stay on the site longer. It makes them use it more. Brings more page views to the site. If it's a website, gets more people using the app. And not just that, but when I share on a website, when I opt to have it automatically share to Facebook, my friends on Facebook also see that I'm reading these articles. They click through, brings more page views, and it naturally cascades in a viral fashion. And as a developer, you know how to do that. If you go to developers.facebook.com, you can learn all about, this is through a process called Open Graph Timeline Actions, or Open Graph Actions. Search for that on developers.facebook.com, and you can find out all about how to do the automatic sharing and to learn about Graph API and pulling a person's friends into the experience. But it's really simple. As a developer, you've got a lot of knowledge in doing that. So spend some time learning that. So I talked about social design. The next step of integrating with social media marketing as a developer is what I call social hacking. Now, when I wrote my book, Facebook Application Development for Dummies, I wanted to call it Facebook Hacking for Dummies, and Wiley turned me down on that title. As a developer, I think we kind of get that term. As a non-developer, it does come off kind of black hat to some. So don't think of this in terms of black hat. Again, we're thinking about privacy laws. We're thinking about respecting the privacy and getting permission from users before we do things. But I do want to show you some cool things you can do as a developer to what I call hack the social graph and hack these social networks to get information that you can build experiences around. And again, this is not, I'm not trying to scare you here, although I know I said I was going to scare you. I want you to learn what you can do with this stuff so you can build experiences around it. So first of all, what experiences, I need to make sure I'm paying attention to the time here. Some questions you need to answer. You need to know what data you have access to, and I'll show that to you in just a second. How do you build audiences on Facebook, Twitter, Google, etc., Google Plus, etc.? Now, this is important. As a software developer, you're not going to understand the marketing side as much, but you need to know a little bit about how to build an audience on a social network, because the more you know about marketing techniques and finding ways to build these audiences on Facebook pages, the more you can find ways using this data, using the tools you have access to you, and other information, the more you can learn things that the marketing community isn't going to know as much, and you're going to be able to pitch into your marketing department, or you're going to be able to step up and play the marketer hat a little bit and do things that your competition isn't thinking of because you understand these APIs, you understand the data available to you, and you can automate some of these processes. So having a little knowledge of that is important. And then, again, how can I build audiences using the data only I, a developer, have access to? So there's data that only you're going to have access to as a developer. A marketer can only see what they can see on a Facebook page. They can go to Facebook.com/Coca-Cola, for instance. And there they see the list of fans there. They see the timeline on that page. They can see what they have a visual view of, but without some level of software development, they can't automate that and put that into apps or gain data and insight or analytics around that data other than what Facebook provides them. So in a marketer's world, they're stuck with the world that Facebook and the apps available to them provide them. In a developer's world, the world it's up to you in terms of the entire world is available to you. Anything that the API provides, which is basically any sort of data available to you, any data you see on Facebook, you can organize in basically any way you want. And I'll show you some of that in 1 minute. So I want to show you the tools that you have available as a developer. The first tool, then the simplest tool that I like to use, and this is specifically for Facebook, but it works a bit anywhere you can do a GET request. Now, for the non-developers in the audience, a GET request is basically anything you can do in a browser. There are other types of web requests like POST and PUT and DELETE. And those you have to do through some level of coding language or a tool called curl, which I'll show you in a second. And those do different things, but most of Facebook's API and a lot of Twitter's API and some of the other APIs out there work mostly off of GET requests. And that means any of those you can do in a browser window. You put in the URL, and you just understand the different URLs the API provides, and you put that in, and you get data like this. This right here, if you put that in your browser right now, that's public information. That's the default data by public. Any developer can see about me. You can see my Facebook ID, see my name, my first name, last name, a link to my profile, username, my gender, and locale. And that's the limit to what Facebook will provide by default and by public. Then if you go and I authorize you to get more information about me, you can see my friends list. You can see, it'll list, and this little format right here. It's kind of easy to read, but as a developer, you can actually format. This is all JSON, JSON format that you can easily import into JavaScript or Perl or PHP or your Typo 3 code, and you can build cool things with this information. If I do graph.facebook.com/JesseStay/friends with an auth token, I can pull in a list of all my friends, and I can build experiences out of that, showing that user's friends as a result. So there's some neat things you can do, and you can do that all in your browser, for one. So if you're just trying to browse the code and you don't want to write a script to do it, use your browser, and you can just quickly browse and glance over. Another tool you're going to want to get familiar with, and this is Facebook specific, and a lot of this stuff I do get a little specific to Facebook, because Facebook has some of when I talked about in social design, you're trying to build experiences including a person's close friends and family. There's no better place than Facebook to bring a person's close friends and family into the experience. And that's why I do focus on Facebook a lot. But if you're getting general data, you can do similar. There's kind of similar tools with Google Plus and Twitter, not as much as Facebook. Facebook has the most tools out there, so I'm showing whatever is available here. But Graph API Explorer, if you go to developers.facebook.com, and the easiest way is there's a little tools link at the top, and if you click on that, there'll be a drop down that comes down, and there'll be an option for Graph API Explorer. Select that, or you can search for it on developers.facebook.com, and it'll bring up a interface kind of like this on the right. And basically what Graph API Explorer does is it lets you do exactly the same thing I did in that browser window, but it allows you to change your request type. If you want to do GET or change it to POST, you can change it to a POST request. And if you read the Facebook API developer docs, it'll show you different things you can do. In Facebook, if I do a post on a particular post ID, for instance, let's say I make a post on Facebook and I want to post on behalf of a user to their timeline. If if I just specify that username slash I think news slash timeline or newsfeed, I can't remember the object the relationship name, but if I do that username slash whatever that is and do post, and then specify some variables on what I want to appear in the post and the image to attach and stuff like that, it'll automatically post for me. And I can use Graph API Explorer to do that for me if I don't want to write a script. And this allows me to do really cool stuff with that. The other thing Graph API Explorer will let you do is there's a little link up at the top that says FQL query. Facebook has a really neat query language similar to SQL called FQL that they built for accessing and joining objects and pulling them all in one API request. And again, search for FQL on developers.facebook.com and you can learn all about it. But I can do a simple query here and pull all sorts of information. I think I've got a slide where I show you an example of that, but it gives you all kinds of information about things you can pull about a user, their friends, a Facebook page, an event, you name it. Anything you see on Facebook, you can query. And I don't even have to write a script to do that. Curl, I mentioned this earlier. Curl is just a simple, it says Rebecca's MacBook Air because that's my wife. I was using her computer on this. But curl, I didn't even finish the statement, but you can make simple command line statements if you have Linux or a Mac, and I think there might be some Windows clients out there as well. You can make simple command line statements and access and have it return data. If you don't want to do it in the browser's the easiest way, but if it's a post request or a delete request or a put request, you can use curl to do this really easily and do similar things to what I was showing you in the browser. Another one that I really like is Google Docs and Google Apps scripts. And again, most of these actually apply, with the exception of Graph API Explorer, apply to all these social networks, Twitter, Facebook, Google+. Pinterest doesn't have an API yet, hopefully soon. Instagram has an API, but most of these all work. But Google Docs actually, or Google Drive, I guess now, but I still call it Google Docs. If you get in their spreadsheets app, you can do Google Apps scripts where you do kind of JavaScript-like language in the browser. And if you just understand a little bit of JavaScript, you can really understand this. And they have all kinds of documentation on how to do it online if you just Google Apps scripts on google.com. But you can do some really cool things. Right here, I've got a thing that if I put in a Google Docs spreadsheet, epi likes, and then in parentheses put the name of the page or the ID of the page in the parentheses, it'll automatically and dynamically return the number of page likes that Facebook page has. So if I want to do a doc that dynamically refreshes the number of page likes and then create a graph out of that, I can do that without any scripting. I can get the link, I can get the name of the page, and that run fbstats just runs it for me. But here again, I'm doing very little scripting, a little bit of JavaScript knowledge, or it's kind of like JavaScript, and you've got everything you need to use spreadsheets to do this. So you get a developer to write this code, and you don't have any development knowledge. All you have to do is know the method calls, and you insert those into your Google Docs spreadsheet, and you can create cool dynamically updating things from the Facebook API or Twitter API or any of these APIs, and have all that load. The last tool you need to know is the APIs. As a developer, the more you can know about the APIs, the better. Keep up on it. Know as they update the APIs, as they refresh the APIs, know what they're refreshing. The more you know about the APIs, the more of an upper hand you're going to have against your competition. The more upper hand you're going to have inside your company as well as you're trying to build a name for yourself in the company, or if you're trying to impress your boss for any reason, or depending on wherever you work or what you're doing. Knowing these APIs and the things you can do with them is important. Sticking to Facebook, if you go to developers.facebook.com, it'll show you all information about Facebook API. It's called Graph API. I think it's developers.twitter.com is the same. Google has their own. I think they're also developers.google.com, and Google Plus has its own API on top of that. So there's some really interesting things you can do, and you can access a person, their information, all their friends, and the information about their friends, people following them. I can get interest lists and other stuff. The data. I just went over a little of the data you have access. This is some of the data available to you as a developer, and this is where you're going to start getting scared. So ads is the first thing. Facebook ads is really powerful, and as a developer, I was a little scared of this at first, understanding advertising and how I can advertise and things you can do. But if you go to ads.facebook.com or advertising.facebook.com, or facebook.com/advertising, I think is the other way to get there. You can create your own Facebook ads. And you can actually go through the motion without actually making a bid or associating a credit card, I think. And at least go in and select some ways to target. But if you go to Facebook's advertising options, and Google's isn't quite as thorough in its targeting, so I'm sticking to Facebook on this one. You can go in, you can say, I want to target everyone in Germany who likes coffee, who is between the ages of 18 and 30 and is married. I can go even further if you want. I can even go to the extent of everyone who typically buys Fords, people who buy Ford cars, people who buy Mercedes, people who buy BMWs, and target ads towards those people. And it'll tell me approximately how many people that targets, and I can build creatives. I can target them in the news feed, target them on the right side of Facebook. I can do mobile app install ads using all that targeting, where I can encourage users to install a mobile app, and that goes through. But the cool thing about this is a developer, there's an entire API you can apply to for Facebook ads. It's not by default available. You have to go apply for it, and there's documents on the Facebook developer documentation that you can fill out. But once you get approved for their ads API, you have access as a developer to all that information and creating ads dynamically. So one thing I've seen done is, as you're building a website, as a person registers, one thing you can do is Facebook ads. Again, this is why you kind of have to understand some of the marketing side of it as well. But as in Facebook ads, I can create a thing called custom audiences, where I give it either a Facebook ID or an email address or I think a phone number, and it will take that and find Facebook users that are that have those as well. Well, as a developer, if a user registers for your system, whatever your app is or your website is, if they register or they go through the checkout process and don't fully fill out the checkout process, you can dynamically create an ad that prompts them on Facebook and says, you didn't finish checking out, click here to check out. And now every time they visit Facebook, they're going to be seeing an ad encouraging them to finish checking out on your website. See what I mean by scary? So knowing that is very important and powerful. Followers and fans. Now, this used to be more powerful than it is now as a developer, but you used to be able to go in and get a list of fans on a Facebook page. You can do this with Twitter, and you can do it with, I think you can do it with Google Plus as well. But on Facebook pages, you can't you can't get they remove the ability in the API to get the list of fans. But one thing you could do, and I would look over the Facebook Terms of Service for this because I think it might be somewhat against the Terms of Service, but you could always create a browser extension that goes through a fan page and gets a person's fans from there. And that's another advantage to being a developer. But on Twitter, it's completely legal. Google Plus, completely legal. You can get that list, and now what you can do is get their interests, get their friends, get get profile information and stuff like that, all with their permission, all that's default public, of course. On Facebook, unless you have their permission, you can't get this information without the user giving you permission specifically. But you can at least get their locale and name and language by default, so it gives you a little bit of information, and start providing stats. You can also, I think, yeah, I think that's the default. But you can start building analytics and stats around that. On Twitter and Google Plus, you might have more information you can do stuff with. If you have the user's permission, you can get their list of interests, the pages they like. I did this right here just in my browser through an auth token that I gave permission for, and it lists all my interests from my Facebook page, my Facebook profile. And you just go here and this is the data Facebook returns. Gives you the name of the interest and the ID of the interest and when I liked it, basically. So if you get permission from any user, or if you have an entire database of users that have given you permission, you can start compiling analytics around those users and the things they like and the things they're interested in. Or maybe you can suggest things on your website based on the things they like and based on the things they're interested in. And then profile and contact info. You can request permission from the user on Facebook to get their email address, their profile information, their phone number even, you name it, their birthday. If they give you permission, you can have access to that information and you can do things. Send them a birthday wish through their email when it's their birthday. Or maybe you provide a special deal or a coupon to them when it's your birthday. You can do interesting things with that as well. And lastly, profit. That's the most important thing. No, this isn't all about money. This is all about building nice experiences for the users. So as an employer, if you're working for an employer, your employer makes money. If you're working on your own, you can make money. But at the same time, so that you can build experiences that your users are going to feel comfortable in. And I think profit actually applies to the end user as well. They need to feel comfortable in these experiences. They need to feel a sense of a rewarding experience when they visit your websites. And the more you know about them, the more you can help your company and help those you work with understand these things that are available to them, the more you have an advantage as a developer. So I'm out of time. We've got a little bit of time for questions if anyone has anything. Yes? I don't think they're necessarily, well, keeping it to themselves, I guess, may be true. I think the trend that I'm seeing is not necessarily closing the data, but requiring permissions from users before they access the data. And you saw this with Facebook first. Facebook, from the start, has been very focused on that privacy experience. And they've had some mistakes and hiccups in the past that they've learned from. And I think the general trend at the moment is, as long as the user is giving permission with a minimum of a basic set of public data, it's okay to share that data. And you're seeing Google now is starting to take users through that process as developers want to get information about users. With Google Plus is trying to be really careful not to experience the privacy fiascos that Facebook went through. So I think they're actually tippy-toeing through the entire process and allowing developers access to this data. Twitter has been all over the board, and Twitter, frankly, doesn't provide a lot of profile information, so other than content, which provides a lot of information. But even Twitter's doing that for DMs. If you want to access their direct messages, you have to get specific permission from the user and stuff like that. So yes, I think the trend is actually towards requiring permission from the user, not necessarily closing it off, but requiring permission. Yes. Oh yeah, and I think what happened is these companies. I actually another thing I did was I did some contract work for Facebook for a very brief time and helped them develop some of their developer documents, and it's been fun watching them over time. Twitter's gone through the same thing. Google Plus is learning from everyone else's experiences, I think. But it was wild, wild west back then, literally, in that you have these companies based in San Francisco, Palo Alto area, around the Bay Area in San Francisco, and they were USA focused, not a ton of experience of working with laws outside of the United States. And the United States has a slightly more flexible privacy. Has slightly more flexible privacy laws than a lot of other countries around the world do. And I think as they globalized and they got bigger, they started to realize we have legal issues if we don't start fixing this. And that's forcing them all to start paying attention to this, especially in European Union. I think it's extremely important. Here, if anyone even comments on a Facebook page with a phone number or an address or any sense of contact information, it can be a liability for the company that provides it. So without that user's permission. So it's a big issue that the bigger they get, the more strict they have to get, I think. Any other questions? Yes.
Have you experimented with Spotify follow-up and how do you evaluate the potential?
The Spotify follow-up, I haven't experimented a lot. You're talking about API access to that. I think there could be a lot of potential there. I would look at Spotify, MySpace, SoundCloud. There are a lot of different music platforms out there. If your audience is a music-focused audience, there's probably some good information that you could obtain from that and build experiences around. I haven't looked at it much personally. I haven't had a reason to yet, but that's a good idea though. If you're trying to access a list of interests around music, that might be a really good platform to look at. And there's so many platforms out there, you kind of have to look around, see what you're building, what platforms are related to what I'm building, and do they have an API? And is it easier to just get that from Facebook as well as you're doing that? Anything else? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys spending time with me today. It's great to be in Germany. This is a beautiful country. Anyway, I'm happy to stick around, answer questions, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.